Welcome back. This is video 4 of 4 in Module 2, the Clearinghouse. We've covered the mechanics of the database, exactly who has access to your information, and how prohibited status physically translates into a downgraded CDL. Now we put those concepts into practice. This video provides the exact steps to register your account, audit your data, dispute inaccuracies, and protect your professional footprint. The compliance architecture relies on 3 primary entities continuously interacting with the data: the FMCSA Clearinghouse, your current or prospective employer, and you, the driver. Out of these 3, you hold the ultimate agency over tracking your status. Managing this connection is a proactive operational duty. It is a core part of being a professional driver, not a passive administrative task you can outsource to an employer's HR department. Getting into the system is straightforward. You do not need an employer to register. Every CDL holder interacts directly with the database to create their own account, and there is no cost to do so. If you haven't set up your account yet, do it today. Waiting until you are staring down a job application or a license renewal forces you to navigate the system under pressure, leaving zero time to fix potential issues. Registration provides access to the self-query protocol, allowing you to request a real-time audit of your data at any moment. When you initiate that query, the system generates a report that is permanently timestamped to the exact minute of your request, giving you a verifiable record of exactly how current your information is. If an entry exists, the report details the critical compliance variables: your violation history, your current prohibited status, your return to duty progress, and the specific party that reported the data. If your record has no violations, the report still generates that exact timestamp document, confirming your clear status. The data you see in this self-generated view is identical to the information prospective employers receive during their mandatory pre-employment checks. Instituting a routine self-audit removes the element of surprise entirely. You secure the advantage of knowing your exact standing long before an employer ever runs a query. We need to address exactly how long negative data remains active in this system, because many drivers misunderstand the timeline rules. This chart maps the visibility window. Any violation logged in the Clearinghouse remains visible to employers for 5 full years from the specific date the incident occurred. Consider a scenario where a driver completes all return-to-duty requirements within the first year. The rapid completion of that process does not shrink or erase the 5-year visibility window. The FMCSA mandate is absolute. Entries remain visible for 5 years or until return to duty is successfully completed, whichever comes later. This means a historical violation from 3 or 4 years ago will still surface on a modern job application, even if you satisfied every requirement shortly after it happened. Understanding this mathematical timeline is critical. It decouples the physical act of resolving a violation from the persistence of its regulatory footprint. You are not fully clear until that 5-year mark is crossed. Like any large database, the Clearinghouse is subject to human error. When anomalies appear, they must be aggressively managed, and the solution depends on which of 2 categories the error falls into. The first category is a standard clerical error. This is a simple mistake, like a violation attributed to you because of a mismatched CDL number, or a typo on reporting paperwork from an employer you never worked for. To fix this, you execute a lateral resolution. Bypassing the FMCSA, you contact that reporting employer or their third-party administrator directly, explain the discrepancy, and request a rapid correction. The secondary category is an outright fraudulent entry. This is a deliberate or reckless false claim, such as a violation tied to a date you weren't working, or a drug test you never took. This requires a vertical escalation. You bypass the employer entirely and report the fraud directly to the FMCSA through the Clearinghouse help desk. Vertical escalation relies on an exhaustive paper trail. Documenting dates, names, and all communications provides the evidentiary foundation FMCSA needs to verify and resolve the dispute. Remember, you lack the administrative clearance to log in and edit your own record. Only the reporting party or the FMCSA can alter the data. You can only force corrections through these channels. Correctly diagnosing whether you are dealing with a typo or fraud dictates the necessary operational pathway to resolve it. These rules also apply to professionals operating entirely outside the standard bounds of W-2 fleet employment. If you are currently between jobs, recognize that your regulatory record does not enter a dormant state just because you are unemployed. Whatever status existed on the final day of your previous job persists indefinitely. A prohibited status remains exactly as it was, waiting for the next query, until the requirements are resolved. If you operate under your own authority as an owner-operator, that independence does not grant you immunity from the clearinghouse footprint. Freight brokers and logistics partners act as proxy employers. They will often run queries before awarding lucrative contracts, and unresolved violations will derail those agreements instantly. Operating without a fleet manager simply means that absolutely no one is tracking regulatory compliance on your behalf behind the scenes. Owner-operators must treat self-auditing with the exact same non-negotiable routine as scheduling DOT physicals or renewing commercial insurance. The database logic applies uniformly to the individual CDL. Employment status does not change the underlying compliance requirements. The practical mandate here is clear. Register immediately and institute a semi-annual schedule for checking your record, even if you suspect nothing is there. Anticipate the unyielding 5-year retention window for historical data and know exactly what employers will see. If you uncover anomalies, escalate them immediately via the lateral or vertical pathways, rather than letting them sit unresolved. You now possess a complete understanding of clearinghouse mechanics, visibility rules, and error correction, and that completes Module 2, the Clearinghouse. We've covered what it is and why it exists, how it was built and why it applies specifically to CDL holders, what prohibited status and CDL downgrading actually mean, and now how to register, check your record, fix errors, and protect yourself, whether you're employed, between jobs, or running your own operation. In Module 3, we move into a deep dive on alcohol testing. We will examine the physiological science, the critical regulatory thresholds that govern your license, and what the law mandates. Take what you learned here into the next video. We will see you there.